Hey guys, totally unique and unusual video for you today. A recovery interview like none other on this channel before. So we're looking at, can data science pave the way to recovery when traditional medicine falls short? Right now, we're exploring this fascinating topic with a guest who didn't turn to any of the strategies we've discussed on this channel so far when navigating his recovery. Instead, he used Python. Hi, everyone. I'm Raelan. If you're new here, welcome. If you are not, welcome back. Good to see you. Every week, we dive deep into recovery journeys from chronic conditions like ME/CFS, long COVID, and today, vaccine injury. After a severe reaction to a vaccine, Glenn Chad from Ontario, Canada, could barely walk and suffered horrible brain fog. Having had not much help from the healthcare system, Glenn turned his programming skills into a powerful recovery tool using Python to uncover patterns and advocating patient-led research. Oh my goodness, we are going to learn so much today. So let's welcome Glenn. Glenn, so amazing to have you here today. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. It's nice to meet you too.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to dive into your story and hear all about it. It's quite unique from what we've had on the channel. So, take us back. How did this start for you?
Yeah, so I got my second shot of, we'll call it the Voldemort because I don't want YouTube to do stuff to your channel and I don't want to be rude as a guest. So I got my second shot of the Voldemort in like June 2022. And I had like my normal reaction to that kind of thing. But afterwards, I started about a week after, that's when my symptoms really started coming in. So my sleep was all screwed up. I couldn't sleep normally. So I had really bad insomnia. And then once you get sleep deprivation, it really screws up everything else, how your mind works. And I couldn't walk more than 5 minutes without crashing and just needing to just go to sleep in the middle of the day, which is so weird. And that was pretty debilitating. It's not being able to walk like a normal person. And then the other thing that happened to me was I couldn't walk and talk at the same time. I could hold a conversation and I could walk, but I can't do both at the same time because that's too much concentration for me. So I wasn't able to do computer programming back then because computer programming just takes all of my brain power, and I just wasn't close to being able to do that. And fortunately for me, I recovered. So the one thing that helped me was called the eye drug, but that only helped me so much. And then it was only about 8 months later where I tried something else, black seed oil, and that seemed to really help me. At roughly around eight months after it, then I started getting a lot better. And then since then, I've been slowly getting more and more better. So I consider myself mostly recovered now. I only have a few lingering symptoms that don't really affect my life that much. So I pretty much have my life back, and I'm able to do computer programming now. And so I want to kind of give back to the community or whatever. So I've been doing research on chronic illnesses like what I have, and then long COVID and ME/CFS. So all my survey research is posted online at sickandabandoned.com and also on YouTube. And I'm sure that there's going to be links in the description below. And that's a quick overview about what happened to me and the kind of work I do now.
Well, you did very well at summing up something that I'm sure felt very long and intense in a very short amount of time. And for people watching, Glenn and I were chatting before we did this interview, and it sounds like there are some cases where YouTube is censoring things or taking videos down or punishing channels. So Glenn very politely, very kindly is just erring on the side of caution about saying some specific words about specific brands of shots or medications or different things like that. But yeah, I do send out a weekly newsletter summarizing these interviews. So anything that he might be censoring, those details will be in that newsletter, so you can get those specifics if you're looking for it. I'm wondering though, because this had to be quite the intense experience for you to go through. You're a younger guy. What did you think was happening when all of a sudden you got all these symptoms and you couldn't even walk for 5 minutes? Did you immediately make the connection to the ship that you'd had, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, well, before I got it, I thought that was it was a 1 in a million thing that almost never happens, getting struck by lightning. And then I quickly realized it's not true, because then there's other people online talking about it. And I thought they were just crazy. I thought it was just 1 in a million, but turns out it's not. Some people in Germany say that it's around 1 in 5,000 from the German adverse event reporting system. And so going back to your question, what did I think was going on? Back then, I didn't even realize that what I have overlaps very heavily with long COVID, because all the research coming out like just looking at long COVID versus ME/CFS, like the symptoms overlap very heavily, and right now, like we can't even tell the two apart. Other than like ME/CFS, obviously you have to have fatigue, right? But other than that, like the two syndromes overlap very heavily, and then the same thing is true between long COVID and what I have. It's based on other surveys because some people survey both long COVID and ME/CFS, and then through my own surveys, I survey like what I have and long COVID, and it's starting to become more and more clear that like it's either the same condition or like it overlaps so heavily that it's like very similar.
Yeah, I did a video a while back about vaccine injuries. I can link it on the screen here and in the video description, mostly just to get the conversation going because I have realized that this is a group of people, a community of people that are feeling very ignored and censored, and people are just scared to talk about it. And in my research and in talking to people, just from my perspective, I saw what you're telling me. It was virtually the same experience for a lot of people, whether it was long COVID or vaccine injury or ME/CFS. Similar symptoms, similar treatment approaches. But yeah, it's an important topic to have. And we can hold two beliefs simultaneously. Because I think people feel like if we say sometimes there potentially are some issues with vaccines, we're somehow saying, oh, we're anti-vax, or that they don't, because we know they save lives. In that video, I share a whole bunch of statistics on, where the world would be if we didn't have them, which is a scary thing, but that doesn't mean that it's a perfect system. So it's important to talk about, in cases like yours, what happens and what do you do when you face this?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there was a lot of censorship going on because I actually lost access to my Facebook account, which is like the weirdest and craziest thing. Because I was a moderator in a large support group, so then I got put into this Facebook Protect program, and I didn't want to sign up for it, so that's how I lost my Facebook account. And then there's like censorship going on Reddit too. Like one of the subreddits r/vaccine long haulers is still quarantined. And then, yeah, so Facebook censorship that, I think Google censors it too. And then YouTube, like, yeah, people's videos got deleted. So that's why I don't want to, like, accidentally get your channel yeeted off YouTube.
Which speaks volumes. The fact that even to talk about this, it's almost like I'm envisioning us putting this video live with like your face distorted and your voice garbled and like you're in a witness protection program or something. Like, what does that say? I can't imagine what it'd be like to be someone facing this, and everyone's so terrified to even talk about it or say the words out loud. That speaks volumes.
Yeah, but it's also like important for long COVID people and ME/CFS people to know about it because people have taken the Voldemort, and then like very small chunk of people get a lot better following it, and then there's like mild improvement. But there's also like a very large number of people who get a lot worse following it. So you really want to know what you're getting yourself into if you get it.
So I'm really interested to hear about, because your unique background prepared you to approach this in a way that most of us just don't have the skills to do. So you went about this like looking at data. And so tell us about that. What was that process like, and what did that reveal?
So basically, yeah, this is the high level like highlights of what this particular survey found. The following groups of treatments are promising, like HBOT, fasting, certain supplements, and certain prescription drugs. And then the other thing to watch out for is when you do treatment, you should probably discontinue treatment and symptoms are worsening, because the reason for that is something like HBOT, some people would just respond very negatively to, possibly in a like permanent or long-lasting way. So you should probably just err on the side of caution. And then you could also start with low dosages before increasing. So HBOT, like you could do the cheaper soft shell kind first and see if you tolerate that. Like a lot of people don't even tolerate that. Hyperbaric oxygen, it's the eye drug.
Okay.
So that one unfortunately is very, very expensive unless you live in the UK.
Okay. But people are finding success with it.
Yeah, that's like the most proven treatment for long COVID, which a lot of people don't even know about it right now, but that's the only one that's like supported by a randomized controlled trial. I have a compilation of what works for long COVID. So here it's just there's like certain approaches that were tested in randomized controlled trials. So like HBOT is one of them, antihistamines, and these other things. But only the HBOT, and like in my opinion, only this trial is like reliable, because like say this trial on Phyto V is this like supplement capsule thing. One of the authors actually has a financial ties to the manufacturer. Like if you go to the manufacturer's website, you'll see his name on there and they're promoting his services and stuff. But in the paper he publishes, he declares no conflicts of interest. So that's why I view that particular study as unreliable. So yeah, that's one of the things going on in the scientific literature. Like I don't trust all of it, because if you could actually trust all of it, be like, oh, all these different things work. But there's like a lot of people not recovering because you quickly find out that not everything works the way that they say it works. So, anyways, long story short, like this one, in my opinion, is the most proven treatment for long COVID.
Well, this is incredible because most people don't have the ability, the knowledge, that even know how to approach it to start digging into all of this research and pull out the data. It's quite overwhelming. So you also found fasting. When you say preferably extended, how long? What does that mean?
Yeah, so fasting is something that came up on this survey and the one before, the treatment outcome survey. And I also asked about like how long you fast, because there's all sorts of fasting. So first, like some people eat a little bit during the fast if it's like a cleanse or there's like juices involved. They'll drink juices or whatever. So it seems that wet fasting is probably superior to the juices and the cleanses. Although the evidence is not like super definitive, but that seems to be where the evidence is leaning towards. So if you do fasting, probably try wet fasting first. And then the time duration of fasting, I asked whether they did like intermittent fasting. So you can eat maybe twice, 3 times a day, as long as you keep it within the eating window. And there's one meal a day where you just eat once a day. And then some people fast between like 24 and 48 hours. And then some people fast like for more than 48 hours. Of the people who said that they fasted for more than 48 hours, that seems to work the best. The evidence is not super definitive, but that seems to be the most effective form of fasting. Obviously, just work your way up. You shouldn't like dive in right away and try out the like really extreme fasts. And I don't think you need to go that far. So, you just fast for like 3 days. If you do that, then you've given this like treatment a fair shake. And then the last thing to know about fasting is like whether you do dry fasting or wet fasting. It seems like wet fasting would be preferable because it's safer and it works. So I think dry fasting is unnecessary. But again, we don't have like, really amazing data on this with like randomized controlled trials. So there's a small chance it could be wrong. Yeah, I guess like more and more people should know about fasting because it seems to be one of the top treatments. It's not the safest thing in the world because some people have a negative experience with it. Like I had a negative experience with it. It screwed my sleep a little bit, but it just works for some people. And then, you get your life back. And then,
yeah, my husband and I recently did a 4-day water fast. I can link up. We did a video about it, but yeah, I've been diving into the research about it and there's a lot of promising stuff. And we also had a medical doctor recently on the channel, Dr. Eleanor Stein, who talked about the benefits of fasting and all the things that could come out of it. So which I can link as well if people want to check it out. But yeah, it's a lot of research to back it and a lot of great things that can come from it. Not for everybody, you need to make sure it's medically safe for you. But yeah. Okay, so what else? Those were the top things that came from your research. Looks like there's a few other, anything else you want to highlight from what came from that?
Sure. I guess it starts getting into like a long list of all these different treatments. So, like, I'm going to zoom out and look at the big picture. The way I think about it in my brain is that basically long COVID is caused by like some kind of infection or just a combination of microbes in your body. For some reason, it's like pathogenic. And for example, if you have it's called pneumonia, like the bacteria that causes pneumonia, they're like living in your body all the time. Like everyone has it. It's just in certain conditions, it's like it causes serious health problems. It's either like an infection you have or just like the combinations of things going on in your body. It causes the stuff living inside you to be pathogenic. So the problems right now is like you don't know what the problem is. Like you don't know which infection you're trying to fight. Basically, you have to try like different antimicrobial treatments, and maybe that it's the right one, maybe it's not. Maybe it'll make you worse, and a lot of times it won't do anything. But basically, that's how treatment works right now. You just have to try things like one at a time to see like whether it makes you better or makes you worse. And it's all like antimicrobial treatments that like really do things. So like this eye drug has some antiviral properties. Statins have some antimicrobial properties, things like that. And cat's claw is a natural supplement that has some antimicrobial properties. So like of all the things that like really do stuff that make people worse and make people better, they usually have some kind of antimicrobial property. And that's the pattern that I see. It's just like fasting might be the only exception. Although you could argue that fasting has antimicrobial properties because when you don't eat, then the stuff in your gut, it doesn't like grow. And normally it like gets into your body all the time. But if it's not growing, then that's not going to happen as much. And that may be why you're better.
Right. You're not feeding things, so they're not growing, probably dying off.
Yeah. So that's like the pattern among like most of the supplements in the prescription drugs. These two specifically, I guess they got popular more recently because people tried all sorts of like blood thinning things. And I think most of them don't really work. But these two come up a lot more often, nattokinase and serrapeptase. So there might be something to them.
Okay. So I'm really intrigued because you had mentioned before, we started this interview that there is one recovery secret that you have found that is hiding in plain sight. So tell us about that.
Yeah, this is my like hot take or my opinion or whatever. But like through the survey data, like I collected data on what people have very negative experiences with. So there are like 4 things, I guess, like SSRIs, psych drugs, like gabapentin, and antibiotics. These are things that like consistently rank on the bottom. SSRIs, antibiotics. There's no gabapentin on there, but it would be near the bottom here. So these are the things that like that patients consistently have like a higher chance of having a negative reaction to. And then in the middle here, there'll probably be some like drugs that don't even do anything. I think part of recovery is just avoiding things that set you back. And even things that work, like ICHBOT, right? Some people are reporting that they got like worse for a long time after ICHBOT. It just pushed them into like a new level of severity. So I think a lot of people just don't know that like the treatments that work will also set you back. And that's why I encourage people to be very conservative in their treatment approach and to like discontinue things that are going the wrong way and to start with a low dose in the beginning. And I feel like a lot of like doctors don't know that, or some doctors even do something worse, which is like they'll tell you that you're like detoxing or that you have like a herpes reaction because you have chronic Lyme. So that way, whenever like the patient has a negative experience, they just have an excuse for it and they tell them to keep going. And that might be like, the exact opposite of what you should be doing. And unfortunately, we just don't have a lot of data on like what happens to people who get worse, like why they get worse. People don't like to talk about it. And in like Reddit or whatever, it's not going to get a lot of upvotes. So you're not going to see it as much. But I think it's a big thing to watch out for. It's just not trying these treatments that set you back. And some of the treatments like SSRIs, we know that in healthy people, there are like permanent, long-lasting side effects that like really screw people up. So it's like how long COVID has support groups. People hurt by SSRIs, they also have their own support groups. R/PSSD is one of them. And yeah, so I think more people need to know about this, that like the treatments do set you back. You really want to be careful not to go the wrong way in your treatment approach.
So where are you now? How do you feel now? Like, what does life look like for you now?
Yeah, so now I could do like almost everything except for breakdancing, which I do that too. So that, I don't know, I'm slowly figuring out. I don't know whether it's deconditioning that prevents me from doing everything I could do before, or whether it's still some lingering health problems that prevent me from doing it at the fullest. So that's the one thing I can't quite entirely do. Like I still go to practice and still get some exercise in. I just can't do everything that I could do before, basically. But aside from that, like I have my life back. Like my brain works normally. I could obviously see from my research, I did all this computer programming. That part of my brain works correctly. I also used to have like survivor's guilt because like what I went through was pretty horrible. I know that like other people are still suffering from ME/CFS, right? Like usually a lot of ME/CFS sufferers, they've been suffering for years and years and years, and they just never figured out how to get better. And other people say like, oh, you shouldn't feel survivor's guilt, but like you just do. And so I had to deal with that for a while. I guess I don't have it anymore because other stuff happened in life where I got mistreated, but we don't need to get into that. I just haven't seen too many people talk about survivor's guilt. Only maybe like Kyle Warner. I pretty much have my life back, so I'm very, very happy about that.
Now, you bring up a good point, though, and I don't think anyone on my channel has talked about survivor's guilt, that feeling of I made it and still so many other people are struggling. And yeah, probably a good problem to have, but still a real thing that you have to, work through. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. You talked about your survey a few times where you're getting some of this data. So can you tell us about that? And can people who are watching, can they participate in that?
Yeah. So one of the issues is that the sample sizes in a way are small because like only about like 7-8% of people surveyed have recovered. But that means there's only like 36 people who recovered, and that's not a lot of data to draw from. And the treatment response rates are like really low, probably in the range of like 2 to 20%. So what I'm trying to do is just to get like bigger sample sizes. So if you could fill out the survey, that'd be incredibly helpful, and it'll help us figure out what's working and what's not. So I think we might as well just put a link into the video description below. And I really hope we get more ME/CFS people filling out the survey, because in the past I've had a lot of difficulty getting ME/CFS people to fill out the survey.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. So, people watching, if you think you have a few minutes that you can manage to devote to this, expand the video description, and the link is there. Because the more we have a data analyst on this, let's give him some data to work with. He's doing really great work. All right, well, Glenn, I thank you so much for your bravery coming here talking about this controversial topic. I know people will very much appreciate that we're getting this or keeping this conversation going. So yeah, I really appreciate you being here today, and so glad that you've had so much progress with your own recovery.
Thank you, and then just thank you for like giving me I don't know, a platform just to help me find more ME/CFS patients to like contribute to the data because we kind of need to figure out what's working, what's not working, and then hopefully more people can be recovered because like it's only like 7-8% of people right now. So hopefully, we just get the knowledge out there and get data out there and get that number like much higher.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the link to sign up for my newsletter, if you haven't already, is in the video description. And we'll share some of those additional details that we left out from this interview if you're looking for more information. And I'll share the survey link there as well. So, yeah, thank you again, Glenn. Thank you to those of you watching. What do you think? Oh, my goodness, such vastly different topics than we usually talk about on this channel, and treatment approaches, and some really good insights. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope to see you in this next one.
Take it easy.